Chen Xuan is a traveler who gains the longevity system and becomes stronger the longer he lives. 19,000 years ago, Chen Xuan accidentally provoked an expert from the Imperial Sky Realm. Chen Xuan found a cave to hide and devoted himself to cultivation. After 500 years, Chen Xuan broke through and killed his enemy. 17,000 years ago, Chen Xuan offended a powerful distraction. Chen Xuan found a cave to hide in, and 3,000 years later, he broke through and killed it directly. 10,000 years ago, Chen Xuan once again provoked a cultivator named Dao Wutian. The realm of this great power is somewhat high, having already reached the realm of the Immortal King.Helpless, Chen Xuan had to close down again. 10,000 years have passed, and when Chen Xuan left the country, he found that his cultivation had reached the pinnacle of the world. His former enemies were old and his family was also desolate. Chen Xuanzhen's new family swept through the 8 wildernesses, constantly meeting old acquaintances from thousands of years ago, and began a new path of cultivation. Chapter 1. Revenge of a Gentleman, Never Too Late. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The northern border of Daozhou is a place with peaks and ridges stretching 800 miles west of Panlong Mountain. The mountain wind is howling. On the mountainside of the highest peak, an extremely secretive cave stands here. The cave entrance is narrow and dim, with countless spider webs almost covering the entire cave. Bang! Suddenly, a terrifying spiritual force rushed out of the cave, shattering all spider webs like autumn leaves. Immediately after, a tall figure slowly emerged from the darkness. It's been 10,000 years now. I don't know how that old guy from Wuxian is doing. He should have been burned to death by me, right? Chen Xuan looked at the undulating mountains and murmured softly. If an ordinary cultivator sees this scene, they will definitely think that Chen Xuan is a mentally abnormal reclusive cultivator. Where is a cultivator who can live for a full 10,000 years? Even if he does, to what extent is his cultivation so strong? I'm afraid it's only when one's cultivation reaches above the heavenly gate realm that they can achieve it, right? However, Chen Xuan did not become obsessed with his cultivation. He is actually a traveler, who awakened his eternal life system after arriving in this cultivation world. As the name suggests, life is infinite, the longer you live, the stronger you become. 19,000 years ago, Chen Xuan relied on his strong military prowess and endless lifespan to venture out and accidentally provoked a master from the Imperial Sky Realm. That person chased and killed Chen Xuan for a whole month, from the southern border of Daozhou to the northern border, almost spanning the entire Daozhou. Adhering to the principle of a gentleman seeks revenge, never too late for 10 years. Chen Xuan found a cave to hide, devoted himself to cultivation, and swore to seek revenge when his cultivation was sufficient. This avoidance will last for 500 years. 500 years had passed, and Chen Xuan broke through and began to search for his enemy. When he found the other person, the master of the Imperial Sky Realm had already grown old. Chen Xuan didn't let him go. He couldn't forget the month when the other party chased him to death, so he ruthlessly killed the other party with a killer. Since then, Chen Xuan has set himself a principle for dealing with the world. If you can fight, fight. If you can't fight, hide first and wait until your cultivation is enough before leaving the mountain. Focus on killing the opponent. Anyway, the lifespan is infinite, and I have plenty of time. 17,000 years ago, Chen Xuan offended a powerful distraction. He did not fight to the end with the opponent, but followed the usual method and found a cave to hide. This evasion will last for 3,000 years. 3,000 years passed in the blink of an eye, and Chen Xuan broke through the level. At this point, his cultivation has far surpassed that of the opponent, so kill him directly. 10,000 years ago, Chen Xuan once again provoked a cultivator named Dao Wutian. However, this powerful person's realm is somewhat high and has already reached the realm of the Immortal King.Helpless, Chen Xuan had to close down again. To this day, 10,000 years have passed, and Chen Xuan has finally left the country. Dao Wutian, after 10,000 years of time, I'm afraid you're already getting old. Let's see what you're fighting me with, It is never too late for a gentleman to seek revenge. This time, we must eradicate the root cause. Chen Xian's gaze gradually became deep and fierce, and then he slowly walked towards the foot of the mountain. The sky is getting late, and the dusk is heavy. Chen Xian, with a ghostly figure and extremely fast speed, quickly arrived at a mountain villa at the foot of Panlong Mountain. The smoke from the kitchen wafted and the dogs barked incessantly. I don't know what the world has become after so many years have passed. Chen Xian murmured softly and then came to the door of a farmer's house, knocking lightly. The person who opened the door was an old woman, and behind her stood a timid 8-year-old child. Chen Xian proposed to stay overnight here, and the old woman readily agreed when she saw that this person had a fairy-like demeanor, extraordinary demeanor, and must be a person of status. During dinner in the evening. Old man, I want to ask you something, Chen Xian said. 10,000 years is too long, and now he doesn't even know where the old man's family has moved to. I can only ask for directions. The old woman nodded. I don't know what the immortal wants to ask. Where does the family without the heavenly immortal king reside now? Chen Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. The immortal king family. The old woman showed a puzzled expression and shook her head, saying, I'm not very familiar with the matter of cultivating immortals. Our village chief is a cultivator, and I believe he knows what the immortals want to inquire about. I can bring him here. That would be troublesome. The old woman stood up and went out, and soon brought back an elderly man with a bright face, who was the village chief of this village. Subsequently, Chen Xian asked his own question again. The family of Dao Wutian should now be located in the floating cloud villa in Dragon City. The village chief used to be a monk who traveled far and wide, with a lot of knowledge. In his old age, he stayed in this village and became the village chief, spending his old age peacefully. Chen Xian was overjoyed and indeed had news. He immediately asked, so, how has this family without an immortal king been developing? Upon hearing this, the village chief sighed. Speaking of the Dao Wutian family, it is quite desolate. The Dao Wutian immortal king has entered his old age and his cultivation is unparalleled. There are not many highly qualified individuals born in the family, and the strength of the entire family is much weaker than before, with few talents. Chen Xian nodded and then, as if thinking of something, pursued, what about the Chen family? Have you ever heard of its news? The village chief tried to recall for a moment, but shook his head. No, I have never heard of this family. This is quite unusual, Chen Xian was puzzled. This Chen family is naturally a descendant of his own ethnic group and is very famous throughout the entire Daozhou. Knowing that the Tao is boundless, one should not be unaware of the Chen family. How could it be that there hasn't even been a single word of it until now? Have these 10,000 years passed, and his Chen family has already been wiped out? After pondering for a moment, Chen Xian also gave up thinking. Compared to seeking descendants, it's better to seek revenge on that old man Dao Wutian first. Talents are scarce, and the immortal king is entering his old age. It's a good time to seek revenge. The next morning, Chen Xian left a certain amount of gold on the woman's table and then set off for the floating cloud villa in Longcheng. Longcheng, one of the 8 major cities in Daozhou, is extremely prosperous and also a gathering place for cultivators. And Fuyan Mountain Villa is also a Taoist temple, with Taoist schools entrenched within the villa. Due to Chen Xuanzhen's high standards, it only took 3 days to travel from Panlong Mountain to Longcheng at night. Within Dragon City, the streets are crowded with people and noisy. Chen Xian casually stopped a passerby and asked, "Excuse me, where is the floating cloud villa?" Time has passed, and 10,000 years have long blurred the layout of the Dragon City for Chen Xian. The passers-by glanced at Chen Xian and his face immediately became respectful. With a profound temperament and an immortal demeanor, one can easily be seen as someone who has attained enlightenment and cultivated immortality. The immortal must have come to attend the Taoist Immortal King's birthday banquet, right? You can tell at first glance that you are a Daoist immortal, definitely a friend of the Dao Wu Heavenly Immortal King. Chen Xuan was taken aback. A birthday banquet. It seems that I have really chosen a good day to pass. Seeking revenge at the birthday banquet is of great significance. The floating cloud villa is right there. The young man pointed to a towering mountain not far from Dragon City, and could vaguely see some majestic buildings. Thank you very much. Before he could finish speaking, Chen Xian's figure had already disappeared into place. The passers-by in this scene were smacking their tongues, truly worthy of being immortals, with extraordinary means of traveling. Each realm has 5 levels of heavenly realm, divided into condensing chi, observing the sea, divine power, refining spirit, returning to the ruins, infinite, heavenly gate, silence, crossing calamity, immortal king, and great emperor. Chapter 2. Revenge at a Birthday Banquet, Late Immortal King. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Half an hour later, Chen Xuanzhen arrived at the entrance of the Dao Mansion in Fuyun Mountain Villa. There are 3 or 2 guards stationed at the entrance of the mansion, with guests coming and going from time to time. The sound of gongs and drums is deafening, and the atmosphere is extraordinary. The Immortal King's birthday banquet, hee. Chen Xian let out a low smile and slowly narrowed his eyes. May I ask who you are? A gatekeeper approached and asked. Chen Xian gave him a faint glance and his voice remained calm. Daozhou Chen Xian, come and congratulate you. At the same time, within the government, 100 tables of banquets filled the hall with guests, and the eyes of the immortals all fell on the elderly figure hanging in the center of the hall. Master of Dao Mansion, Dao Wutian. At this moment, Dao Wutian was dressed in a green robe, and his old face was wrinkled and full of old age. Sitting beside her was a young woman of about 18 years old, with a beautiful appearance and a cold temperament. This person is Daorong, the first daughter of Taoism today. Grandpa, it seems that the guests are almost here, Dao Rong whispered. Dao Wutian nodded and slowly stood up, coughing lightly twice. The sound was not loud, but it contained a majestic spiritual energy, and everyone present instantly fell silent. Today is my husband's birthday banquet. I am grateful to all Taoist friends for coming here to congratulate me. Today is Dao Wutian Wang. Halfway through the conversation, a middle-aged man sitting in the east seat suddenly stood up and interrupted Dao Wutian's next words. Everyone present was surprised and looked at the person one after another. When the Immortal King speaks, he dares to interject. Is this person tired of living? Dao Wutian also looked at the person with an angry expression on his face. The middle-aged person speaking is the leader of the Lingjian sect, with boundless swords. This person has some grudges with Taoism, so it's definitely not a good thing to speak up now. Master Lingjian, what do you have to say? Dao Wutian asked in a slightly icy voice. Ha ha ha. Jian Wuya chuckled and walked out of his seat, saying, Today is a day of great joy for the Taoist family. I come here to congratulate you on your birthday, and at the same time, I also want to bring more joy to the Taoist family. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expression became strange. What is the way to rush joy? Dao Wutian's eyebrows slowly furrowed. I have long heard that there is a heavenly beauty named Daorong in the Daofu, who not only has excellent qualifications but also has a beautiful appearance. Today, the younger generation dares to propose to Miss Daorong at this birthday banquet, hoping that the heavenly immortal Wang Qingquan will come true. Jian Wuya looked at Dao Rong, who was somewhat panicked at the moment, with an undisguised greedy expression on her face. He has been coveting Dao Rong for a long time. Dao Rong's innate constitution is a dual cultivation holy body. If he could obtain Dao Rong, his cultivation would also advance by leaps and bounds. When everyone present heard this, they were all discussing it one after another. This is not here to propose marriage, it's like finding fault. Who wouldn't know that this Dao Rong has a rare and mysterious ice and glass physique that is rare in 1,000 years. It's a treasure of Taoism, how could it be easily given up? This Dao Rong is only 18 years old, so it is absolutely impossible for her to marry someone at the age of Jian Wuya. I think Sword Tianya is going to run out of food today. He can't bear the anger of Dao Wutian Immortal King. That's not necessarily true. The current Dao Wutian Immortal King is not as he used to be. Oh. Are you saying? As expected, Dao Wutian's face turned black in an instant. What if I don't agree? Ha ha ha. Jian Wuya's smile became even more arrogant. Dao Wutian Immortal King, you don't have the right to refuse now. I'm not here to discuss this with you. Bold. Without waiting for Dao Wutian to speak, the several Taoist elders behind him were already furious, one by one like angry Vajra, and immediately cursed loudly. What kind of thing is your sword without limits? Do you dare to propose marriage to my Taoist family? A family guarded by the Immortal King, is it something that your little spirit sword sect can climb up to? I advise you to leave immediately, otherwise even if today is our ancestor's birthday banquet, we will have to depose you. Faced with the threat of the Taoist elders, Jian Wuya remained unchanged, with a disdainful smile on his lips. Your Taoist school is now in a state of disrepair, already unbeatable. Just an old immortal king who never dies, I'm afraid he doesn't even have the strength of the Silence Realm. It's hard not to want to stop me. Jian Wuya no longer concealed it, and the spiritual energy around him became extremely fierce, almost ready to lift the momentum of this mansion in the next moment. Ignorant rat. I see you're tired of living. Dao Wutian could no longer tolerate others trampling on the dignity of his immortal king, and immediately became furious, with a powerful pressure instantly overwhelming him. At this moment, 5 people suddenly stood up behind Jian Wuya, releasing their spiritual energy and fighting against Dao Wutian together. Bang! The raging spiritual airflow hovered over the Dao mansion, and terrifying spiritual fluctuations echoed throughout the world. Puff! Dao Wutian couldn't resist and spat out a mouthful of blood. He took a full 5 steps back before finally stabilizing his figure. Indeed, his strength has long declined to a state of silence. And the few people who followed Jian Wuya's attack were all the strength of the Silence Realm. How could he defeat them? Grandfather. Dao Rong looked panicked and quickly ran up to help Dao Wutian. Tears streamed down like broken pearls. He understood that if even his grandfather could not resist, the other members of the Taoist family would naturally not be the opponents of this sword without limits. So her ending would only be, Miss Dao, I'll give you another chance to come with me, or I'll wipe out your entire Taoist family today. Choose one. Jianwei smiled playfully and looked down at everyone from a high position. Silence, the whole room fell into a deadly silence. Okay. Dao Rong almost bit her lips and struggled to squeeze out these words from her throat. As long as you let go of my Taoist family, I'll go with you. Dao Wutian wanted to say something more, but in the end, he just sighed helplessly. If his skills are inferior to those of others, he can only admit defeat, but he has pitted his grandparents and grandchildren. At this moment, an unwelcome guest walked slowly through the door, stepping on the ground covered in debris, disregarding the strange gazes of the crowd. The person who came here was Chen Xian, who came to seek revenge. He slowly glanced at everyone, and finally turned his gaze to Dao Wutian, who had a pale face and blood stains on his lips. Chen Xian's aura was introverted, but he looked quite extraordinary. Long time no see, Dao Wutian. I, Chen Xian, came here today to seek revenge. Have you already prepared your consciousness? Upon hearing these words, everyone present was immediately dumbfounded. Hey guy, are you here to seek revenge? What evil has the Taoist done? The matter of sword without end has not been resolved yet, and now there is another one who wants revenge. However, this person is also too young, probably at the age of half a year at most. What is he seeking revenge for? Although Taoism has declined significantly nowadays, it is not something that this young person can bully. Compared to sword without end, this person's threat can be considered almost non-existent. At this moment, the elders of the Taoist school stood up one after another. This little friend, no matter what kind of revenge you're here for, you're not here at the right time today. I don't have time to talk to you. Leave quickly, otherwise don't blame me for letting you explain here. After my Taoist school solves today's trouble, you can come and seek revenge anytime you want. Don't make yourself unhappy now. Wait. At this moment, Dao Wutian suddenly shouted and interrupted everyone. Chapter 3. The Flash Sword Endless. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Dao Wutian's hair was scattered, his face was extremely pale, and there was still a trace of blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. A group of old eyes stared fixedly at Xianxia in front of them, as if trying to see through his soul. The spiritual energy around the body was instantly disrupted, and Dao Wutian's pupils slowly dilated. An incredulous expression appeared on his old face. You. Who are you? Are you Xianxia? Dao Wutian raised his finger towards the person, his arms trembling and his expression somewhat uncertain. As soon as this person entered the courtyard door, he felt a bit familiar with him. This looks a bit like the person who was defeated by his own subordinates 10,000 years ago. Xianxia. But how could it be? 10,000 years have passed, how could this person still be so young? He. Seeing Dao Wutian say his name, Xianxia sneered and said, Dao Wutian, 10,000 years east of the river, 10,000 years west of the river. I didn't expect to come back again. You're really Xianxia. Dao Wutian was surprised to find out that it was really him. He came to seek revenge today. Dao Wutian let out a deep sigh in his heart. If it were him from thousands of years ago, he could easily defeat Wuxia and others in front of him with just a flick of his finger, even Xianxia was not his opponent. But now that thousands of years have passed, he can only sigh with anger. As for Xianxia, after 10,000 years, his strength must have broken through to the realm of the Immortal King. Taoism is in danger today. Xianxia slowly drew out his long sword from his waist and pointed it at Dao Wutian's head. A small spiritual energy slowly wrapped around the sword body. Xianxia. At this moment, Dao Wutian suddenly let out a loud shout and knelt down in front of everyone's eyes. My life cannot be saved today, but my people should not have suffered this calamity. Dao Wutian raised his hand and pointed at Wuxia and others, his eyes bloodshot and his face ferocious. How about you help me kill them, let my people go, and then take my life and dispose of it as you please. Xianxia was taken aback, somewhat surprised, hesitated for a moment, and then nodded. Although we are enemies, we are still acquaintances from 10,000 years ago. For the sake of your request, I have helped you with this. After a long baptism, Xianxia had already seen through everything in this world. Revenge is not so much a must-do for him, but rather an obsession in his heart. A fairy king lowered his face and begged him, indicating that Dao Wu was naive and faced a desperate situation. Xianxia slowly turned around and looked at Wuxia and others, his voice as calm as water. I want to protect the people of the Taoist school today. Will you leave on your own or will I come? Ha ha ha. Wuxia immediately burst into laughter. Are you afraid you're crazy? You've gone too far to show off, haven't you? The few people behind him also showed a sarcastic expression. Kid, dare you provoke the Spirit Sword sect? I'm afraid you're getting impatient living, right? That old man Dao Wutian is also crazy, he actually wants you to stop us. I think it's better to hand over Darong early, so as to avoid the difficulties of the Taoist school. The onlookers also began to point fingers at Chen Xian. Can you, as a young man, be the spirit sword sect that even the Dao Wutian Immortal King cannot resist? There are many ways to achieve self-destruction, but you have chosen the fastest one. Sword sect leader and others are all powerful in the silence realm. What does this young man use to block them? It's better to leave quickly to ensure your own safety, don't provoke some people you can't afford. Faced with everyone's questioning, Chen Xian did not respond. His eyes slowly narrowed, suddenly. A powerful pressure fell from the sky, and Sword Wuya, who was still laughing wildly, felt as if a mountain had fallen on him. The laughter abruptly came to an end, replaced by a scream. Shoo! A sword light flashed by, Jian Wuya's skull fell to the ground with a thud, blood staining the ground, and a strong smell of blood filled the surroundings. Until death, Jian Wuya didn't even see Chen Xian take a step. A powerful figure from the silent realm fell like this. The scene fell silent, and the person who was originally mocking Chen Xian suddenly became dumbfounded. Seeing this scene, Dao Wutian took a deep breath. He saw through this move just now, it must be a strength that can only be unleashed in the Immortal King realm. Sure enough, 10,000 years have passed, and Chen Xian is no longer comparable to that time. Yes, how could he come to Taoism if he didn't break through enough to defeat himself? What truly amazed Dao Wutian was that even after thousands of years, Chen Xian still had a youthful appearance. I'm afraid that Chen Xian's cultivation has become even more advanced, surpassing Immortal One. At this point, the other members of the Lingxian sect had already been completely scared out of their wits. The leader of the Silent Realm died just by saying goodbye. The person in front of me is really terrifying. This person's strength is definitely in the Immortal King realm, otherwise how could he possibly kill the sect leader in a flash? Damn it! Isn't it true that the current Taoist school is already a wall of inclination? Where did this person come from? The only solution for now is to leave first and come back later to avenge the sect leader. Several people stared at Chen Xian with vigilant eyes, slowly retreating back. Chen Xian had no intention of pursuing the other side, as long as he pushed back these people, it would be enough to protect the Taoism. Chen Xian, right. Alright, we remember you. This account, my Lingxian sect will definitely make you repay it. Throwing down such a sentence, the people of the Spirit Sword sect disappeared without a trace. The onlookers were all looking at Chen Xian with incredible eyes. The Taoist school has such a strong protector, I'm afraid no one dares to invade. So young, but the strength has already become so terrifying that it's probably difficult for a second person to emerge in this world. I thought the person who wanted him to fight against the Spirit Sword sect was just a praying mantis wielding a mantis, but I didn't expect that my vision was short-sighted. What's his name? Just now, Dao Wutian Immortal King called Chen Xian, right? Strange, I've never heard of this name before. Is this person a newly born reclusive powerhouse? Then, Chen Xian lifted his long sword and turned towards the position of Dao Wutian. Chen Xian, before I die, I have one last thing to ask. Whether I agree or not depends on you. How about that? In Dao Wutian's eyes, there was no fear of death, but a plea. Speak. Chen Xian said. Dao Wutian pulled Dao Rong beside him to Chen Xian, and his tone softened a lot. In these years, my Taoist school has not produced any exceptionally talented geniuses, but this child is one. I don't want her qualifications to be buried, and I wonder if I can make her worship you as a teacher. It's okay if you don't agree, anyway, my life is already yours. After speaking, Dao Wutian's eyes slowly closed, looking indifferent to life and death. Sigh. A sigh sounded, and Chen Xian put away his long sword, saying, well, I miss you so much. I'll spare you today. Kill someone who has no resistance. This revenge is meaningless. Dao Wutian suddenly opened his eyes, hesitated for a moment, and then bowed again, thank you for not killing the king of Xianxia. Thank you, King Chen Xianxian. The Taoist family shouted in unison, their voices deafening. If Chen Xian really killed Dao Wutian today, then their Taoist family is really finished. Chapter 4. The Fallen Chen Family. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The grace of not killing King Chen Xianxian will be remembered by the entire Taoist family for generations. Daorong walked forward, her pretty face already covered in tears. Just now, her family almost fell into an irreparable abyss. If it weren't for Chen Xian's help, not to mention that grandfather wouldn't have survived, she would definitely have been forcibly abducted by that guy Jian Wuya. The person in front of her not only saved the entire Taoism, but also gave herself a new life. You are the little girl from the Taoist school, and your qualifications are indeed quite good. Chen Xian glanced lightly at Dao Rong and nodded slightly. Although Chen Xian's expression appeared calm on the surface now, there were some ripples in his heart. This Daorong is actually a rare 9-turn glass body that has been seen for thousands of years, and its qualifications can indeed be considered absolutely superior. Are you willing to be my disciple? Upon hearing this, Daorong was surprised and opened her mouth wide, her face full of disbelief. This child, what are you still staring at? Pay respects to your master. Dao Wutian was overjoyed and quickly urged. Daorong suddenly realized and bowed again, bending lower. I pay my respects to my master, disciple. I have been in seclusion for thousands of years, but I never expected to accept an apprentice as soon as I left. It can be considered fate. Follow me from now on. Then, Chen Xian looked at Dao Wutian. By the way, I have one more thing to ask you. Have you ever heard of the whereabouts of the Chen family during these 10,000 years? Chen Xian found it strange that there had been no news of his family's whereabouts. If I remember correctly, it should be your descendants, right? Dao Wutian straightened his body with a pensive expression on his face and said, 5,000 years ago, your Chen family was still very prosperous, but later it suddenly disappeared without any news, as if it had been erased overnight, at least not included in the ranks of the big family. So strange. Chen Xian's face showed surprise. What happened 5,000 years ago that could have caused one's family to fall overnight, or even possibly have been wiped out? Ah, that's all. Let's use that method to find it. Chen Xian raised his hand and cut through it. A blood bead slowly floated into the air, then turned into a stream of blood and drifted towards a distant direction. This method is called blood diversion technique, which can locate the location of direct blood vessels through blood. Come with me, Chen Xian looked at Dao Rong. After bidding farewell to the various ethnic groups, Daorong followed Chen Xian and left. The two of them traveled night and night, following the guidance of the bloodline, and arrived at a barren land in the far east of Daozhou. This place is extremely remote and sparsely populated, with only one city within a radius of 500 miles. Liugu City. My Chen family is so lonely. What exactly happened back then? Time has changed, with great ups and downs, and many families have perished overnight. But Chen Xian didn't expect that the Chen family he was in would also look like this. But if there are still people alive, that's good. For thousands of years, he has been isolated, and the Chen family thousands of years ago can be said to be his spiritual sustenance. Chen Xian and Dao Rong were suspended in the sky, overlooking this small city. Master, is this where your family is located? Dao Rong asked. Chen Xian nodded and looked at a small city inside the city, saying, well, this is the place. The courtyard in the center of the city should be my Chen family. Then Chen Xian closed his eyes and felt it for a while, frowning slightly. At this moment, there are only a few dozen members left in the vast family, and their military strength is low. Even life is so difficult. I really don't know what great changes they have gone through. Let's go down. Chen Xian and Dao Rong turned into two streams of light and flew towards the center of the city. At this moment, in the courtyard of the Chen family, Those surnamed Chen, you have been the leader of this ancient city for several years. Now it's time to give up the position of this first family to our royal family, right? Hundreds of strong men holding long knives stood in the arena, staring fiercely at the person across from them with fierce lights on their faces. Across from the strong man lies the Chen family, which has only a few dozen remaining members. The middle-aged man with a displeased expression walked out of the crowd and pointed at the nose of the leading strong man, cursing. Wang.De, our Chen family has been engaged in the spirit stone business in this ancient city for over 200 years. Now that you want to make the two families go to war for this small profit, it's really insane. Ha ha ha, crazy. Wang.De sneered and said, I heard that your Chen family used to be a big family, but after their decline, they even went to small places like Liugu City to compete with us for territory. Regardless of face, I think you are even more shameless. Wang.De's words were like a thorn in the heart, deeply embedded in the hearts of the Chen family, and anger surged from the soles of his feet to his forehead. These words are actually true, but they are the shameful history that the Chen family is least willing to mention. Yes, the vast Chen family, once renowned throughout the entire Daozhou, has now fallen into the realm of competing for the Lingshire business with the Wang family, a 9-tier force residing in Liugu City. The past is unbearable to look back on, only loneliness and unwillingness. If I had to say it, it's probably because your ancestors were not up to par and lost all their family. Otherwise, how could you end up in such a land? Wang.De's tone was extremely sarcastic. Wang.De, you're looking for death. How could you insult my Chen family ancestors? The Chen family members were furious and immediately rushed forward. The members of the Wang family dared not show weakness and quickly fought against each other under the leadership of Wang.De. Although the morale of the Chen family is extremely high at this time, they cannot resist the fact that the cultivation and quantity of the opponent are far superior to their own. Before long, it had already fallen into a disadvantage. It's only a matter of time before they are completely annihilated if this continues. At the same time, above the cloud. Master, do we need to go down and help? Dao Rong looked at Xianxian and asked. That's nature. Xianxian's eyes were slightly frozen, and his expression became a bit cold. When that group of people insulted the ancestors of the Chen family, they had already been sentenced to death in Chen Xuanqin's heart, after all. He was the ancestor of the Chen family. However, this non-mainstream force is not up to Xianxian to take action. Your cultivation has now reached the 8th level of divine powers, and these members of the Wang family are only at most in the 3rd level of observing the sea. Let's deal with them. Xianxian instructed Dao Rong. Yes, master. Dao Rong took command and transformed into a stream of light falling towards the ground. The people of the Chen family have been declining step by step and have already fallen into crisis. Those surnamed Chen, today is your deadline. Wang.De laughed wildly. Suddenly, a strong wind blew by. The next second, Dao Rong's beautiful figure appeared in the audience. She had cold eyes, staring coldly at the people of the Wang family. Unmatched temperament, stunning appearance. For a moment, Wang.De's eyes widened. Little beauty, where did you come from? Wang.De's eyes showed an undisguised greed. You don't need to know, because you're about to die, Dao Rong replied coldly. Ha ha ha, I am a master of the triple realm of sea observation. Are you a little girl who still wants to kill me? Why don't you go back with me and enjoy the pleasure of the dragon bed with me, big brother? That's the right thing. Wang.De's words fell, and the Wang family behind him burst into laughter. The leader of the Chen family saw this scene and quickly spoke out to remind. Miss, leave quickly. This king's sword is very dangerous. Yeah, how could a little girl be a match for a master in the triple realm of sea observation? Chapter 5. Congratulations to the ancestors' return. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Miss, This is a grudge between our Chen and Wang families. I don't know where you come from, but it's better not to interfere and don't harm yourself. The leader of the Chen family earnestly advised. Darong shook her head slightly and said, I was sent by your ancestors of the Chen family, so it's impossible for me to leave. Without further ado, Darong turned to look at Wang.The, lifted her palm, and her spiritual energy surged wildly. Seeking death. Wang.The was furious when he saw that the other party was about to take action. He fiercely ordered the people behind him, go ahead. Kill this little girl for me. Hundreds of Wang family members rushed forward with a fierce expression. Since you're looking for death, no one can blame us. Such a beautiful woman, what a pity. Hee, let's take her down and take her back to enjoy it. A little girl is so reckless, don't blame our Wang family for ruthlessly destroying flowers today. A sword light flashed by, and before everyone could see what had happened, hundreds of round and rolling heads rolled down to the ground. Blood spurted out, staining the opposite side red. A strong bloody smell permeates the air. Wang.The widened his eyes and looked incredulous. How could it be? Although his subordinates have average cultivation, they are all real sea view experts, and they are not the enemies of the little girl in front of them. In just an instant, it was already instantly killed. Who the hell are you? Wang.The was a bit panicked, thinking only of running away at this moment. You don't need to know. Dao Rong's voice came from all directions, and the next second it appeared in front of Wang.The. The sharp sword light flashed by, and Wang.The had no time to react, so he was struck in the chest. Blood blooms suddenly appeared, and the body twitched for a moment before collapsing straight down without a sound. For a while, the remaining members of the Wang family scattered birds and beasts, but were all executed by Dao Rong when he raised his hand. The ethnic dispute that caused great headaches for the Chen family was quickly resolved by Dao Rong. The cultivators in the realm of divine powers are not something that these people in the realm of observing the sea and condensing qi can defeat. The leader of the Chen family was already stunned and immediately bowed down. Thank you for saving your life, Mississippi. The entire Chen family is extremely grateful. Thank you for saving your life, Mississippi. The Chen family knelt down one after another, their faces excited. If it weren't for the person in front of them taking action, the Chen family would have been doomed today. The inheritance of thousands of years may be destroyed in an instant. Please stand up, don't thank me. As I said, your ancestors sent me to help you. Dao Rong shook her head. The leader of the Chen family suddenly became confused. But, miss, our ancestors of the Chen family have all passed away, and all the spiritual tablets have been enshrined in the temple. You said they were sent by our ancestors of the Chen family, this. For a moment, the Chen family looked at each other in confusion. Hee, who said all the ancestors of the Chen family have died? With a loud smile, Chen Xian's figure emerged from the air, looking towards the leader of the Chen family. I am Chen Xian, a descendant. Have you ever recognized me? Master, Dao Rong nodded slightly at Chen Xian. The leader of the Chen family looked at the newcomer with a thoughtful expression on his face. The next second, his face moved violently and his body trembled uncontrollably. He has never seen this person before. But the name Chen Xian has been heard of before. In the ancestral hall dedicated to the ancestors of the Chen family, many spiritual tablets and plaques are made of a special type of wood. After the person to whom the spiritual position belongs dies, the plaque will shatter into a crack. This plaque is called the Changsheng plaque. But now in the ancestral hall, there is still a longevity card that is intact, and the name engraved on it is exactly Chen Xian. The longevity plaque has been enshrined in the ancestral temple for 10,000 years, and it seems that there has never been a person named Chen Xian among the descendants of the Chen family. Could it be that the person in front of me is the family ancestor from thousands of years ago? Yes. It won't be wrong. It must be. Young generation Chenin, pay respects to our ancestors. The leader of the Chen family immediately bowed and his voice was filled with excitement. Farewell to Ancestor Chen Xian. The Chen family bowed together. Well, tell me what has happened over the past 10,000 years, and why my Chen family has declined to such a land, Chen Xian said calmly. Sigh. Accompanied by a sigh, Chen began to recount the experiences of the Chen family in this eternal light. 10,000 years ago, when our ancestors were still in our family, no one dared to provoke our Chen family. However, since you disappeared, about 5,000 years ago, our Chen family was leaderless and faced a joint pursuit from the four major families. Although my Chen family has a deep foundation, it cannot withstand the continuous pursuit of the four major families. One of the battles was extremely brutal, and more than half of my Chen family's strong members were injured and killed. Later, I had to move to a remote area in Daozhou. But who knew that those four major families were still relentless, chasing us to the point where we were almost wiped out, and the inheritance of the torch was almost cut off. At this moment, Chen En's eyes were filled with tears. Fortunately, several ancestors survived. After many twists and turns, we arrived at this ancient city and slowly developed our family until a while ago. The Wang family had a conflict with us in order to compete for the Lingshire business. Fortunately, our ancestor appeared today, otherwise. Chen Anqing shed tears. So it's like this. Chen Xian's eyes showed a hint of coldness. The four major families have actually harmed his Chen family to this land, and even almost cut off their inheritance. No wonder, if it weren't for the collaboration of the four major families, there would have been several forces in the entire Daozhou that dared to intervene and confront the Chen family. At this moment, a noisy clamor came from outside the courtyard. Those surnamed Chen. You dare to kill my lord. Today, we will use the strength of our entire clan to fight against you. This time, our elder has arrived personally. You are doomed. Hand over that girl doll, and we can still leave a whole body for your Chen family. Chen stood up somewhat panicked, with a slight cold sweat streaming down his forehead. This is the person from the Wang family who has been killed back. What should we do? But after a moment, he calmed down again. What are you afraid of when your ancestors come back? It is said that Chen Xian's ancestors were already invincible thousands of years ago. Now that you come back, your strength will definitely become even more terrifying. I can't say for sure, even the realm of the Immortal King has suddenly become unknown. I was planning to spare their lives, but since I came to seek death, let's kill them all and destroy the Wang family, Chen Xian instructed Dao Rong. Yes, master. Dao Rong immediately took orders to leave the courtyard door, and soon, outside came cries of killing and mourning. Before long, it slowly quieted down. Master, kill them all. Dao Rong returned. Upon hearing these words, Chen was so excited that he almost fainted. They have dealt with the Wang family for so many years, but they were annihilated before their ancestors covered their hands. Before long, the Chen family will rise again under the protection of their ancestors. Even avenge the pursuit of the four major families 5,000 years ago. Congratulations to our ancestors' return. Chapter 6. Teach the Purple Texture Classic. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright. Chen Xian waved his sleeve and slowly got up to sit in a high position, feeling deeply moved in his heart. The Chen family, which used to be lush with branches and leaves and a thriving population, now has such a vast land and meager food and clothing. Chen couldn't help feeling sad when he saw his ancestor looking around, so he knelt down again. I beg for justice from my ancestors. With the Chen family in my lineage, I have knelt in front of my ancestors several times and wished to commit suicide to apologize. If it weren't for a few younger generations, would never have dared to survive in this world. I Chen asked myself, the Chen family never does anything that would harm the heavens or reason. Why was it killed by the four major families? Is it because my Chen family is the leader of the family? Was it a shameless disaster? Over the past century, the Chen family has been constantly relocating, hiding and running. However, all four major families' members have been wiped out, leaving only 2 generations, Z and U, who have been passed down to a relatively small population. They are going to exterminate our Chen family. He spoke with tears streaming down his face, every word seeming to exude endless hatred. In Monfu, the Chen family, including their families, only had more than 40 people kneeling on the ground, choking up in a low voice. Chen Xian's eyes were filled with a murderous intent. I have only been in seclusion for 10,000 years, and the changes have been so great. If it were later, my Chen family would not have been destroyed. The only hint that was revealed, Darong felt himself enveloped in inexplicable killing intent, unable to move, and fear spread throughout his body. This is a pressure she has never felt on her grandfather. Don't worry, I will make the decision for you. With me around, no one can offend the Chen family again. With Chen Xian's words, the terrifying pressure on Dao Rong dissipated, and then he felt a wave of exhaustion. Is this the realm of a powerful immortal king? She has just exhausted all her spiritual energy to keep awake, and if it takes a while longer, she is afraid to faint. Xia Laozu, there is hope for the revival of the Chen family. Xia Laozu, there is hope for the revival of the Chen family. Everyone was overjoyed, and no longer had to live in hiding. The younger generation of the Chen family is out, let our ancestors take a look. The 7 younger generations of the Chen family looked at each other and immediately timidly walked forward, bowing their heads and not daring to look directly at their ancestors. Chen Xian glanced over and found that these 7 were all 17 or 80.9 years old. As they were members of the Chen family, their qualifications were relatively good, but they only reached the realm of condensing qi. He shook his head slightly, and when he looked at this ancient city, the spiritual energy was also considered majestic, but it was not utilized. I have a good talent and a low cultivation level, but I don't have any suitable techniques. Chenin felt guilty in his heart and said with a hint, Ancestor. For the past century, the Chen family's heritage has been snatched and lost, and it has long been. Chen Xian shook his head and sighed. Anyway, I have a purple texture manual here that I accidentally obtained 10,000 years ago. It is a mind technique that is very suitable for the Chen family's cultivation. Take it. In his hand, a secret book appeared out of thin air. The book was made of purple gold thread, exuding a purple aura and a faint radiance. 4 large characters were prominently written on it, Purple Texture Classic. This object looks extremely impressive, with a faint ink fragrance that seems to have the effect of nourishing the heart. The Purple Pattern Classic. Seeing this, Darong couldn't help but be shocked and blurted out unconsciously. Later, he realized that he was losing his composure and kept busy. Master, is it difficult to obtain this item from the hands of the Purple Vein Immortal? She stared closely at the purple textbook, her eyes filled with horror. Do you know him? Chen Xian was slightly surprised, and when he mentioned the Purple Stripe Immortal, he remembered an interesting story from thousands of years ago. 10,000 years ago, he traveled to Daozhou to seek people for sparring. Coincidentally, while passing through a village in Daozhou, he met the Purple Vein Immortal who was talking incessantly with the villager about the path of cultivation, and invited people to join his sect. At that time, Chen Xian's temper was not as calm as it is today, and he couldn't stand the behavior of forcing others, so he had a sparring. However, the Purple Pattern Immortal's cultivation is not precise, and he can only return to the rural realm. After being defeated in the battle, I kept pestering him for 3 days and 3 nights, and even gave him a gift to meet him. It was said to be an apprenticeship gift, which is the Purple Texture Classic. But during these 10,000 years, Ziwenjindian said that to him, it was more like a decoration, placed in that delightful presence. After Chen Xian finished telling the story, Dao Rong's face turned pale with shock. Dao Rong looked in shock at Chen Xian, who looked only in his 20s before him. If his master's words were correct, he was a person of eternal beauty. But it has reached immortality. Her heart was filled with shock, and her gaze towards Xianxia couldn't help but change. Her expression was solemn, and she asked with a probing tone. "Master, do you know the purple pattern sect?" Xianxia shook his head. "Master knows that Xuanzhen is the ancestor of the Xuan sect." Xianxia shook his head again. Dao Rong's voice gradually trembled as he asked. "Master, did he use the pseudonym Chen Beixian back then?" Chen Xianlu was surprised and nodded slightly, smiling. "But it was like this, the purple stripe immortal couldn't help but be a bit annoying and still wanted to find me." In order to avoid his repeated interruptions, he casually fabricated a name. Dao Rong opened his mouth slightly and couldn't help feeling a bit lost in an instant. Nowadays, the Purple Vein sect ranks among the top 10 families in Daozhou, surpassing the Taoists and possessing a rich cultural heritage. However, there is always a saying circulating in Kadada. Xuanzhen is not the first leader, but the deputy leader. The real leader's name is Chen Beixian. And Chen Beixian is the master in front of him, Chen Xian. "Master, did you give the Purple Vein Immortal a book of experience back then?" The expression in Daorong's eyes became increasingly intense, and he couldn't help but get excited. "No, but he did take some notes and record something." Chen Xian smiled and shook his head. "Sure enough." Daorong confirmed his conjecture, his palms slightly sweating, and his heart churned with turbulent waves. The secret book that was sealed as the Supreme Mind Technique by the Purple Vein sect was actually created by Chen Xian, and it was just a few casual teachings. If so, it's just around the corner for my Taoist family to regain its glory. No wonder my grandfather entrusted me to him. In Daorong's eyes, there was also a hint of respect, admiration for women. Although Chenan and others have a declining family, they have also heard of the name of the Purple Vein sect. Chenan couldn't help but burst into tears. Being able to obtain such a vast sect of martial arts was an honor that even the graves of his ancestors could not obtain. Finally, there is hope for the Chen family. He immediately urged several inexperienced juniors. "Hurry up, what are you still doing in a daze?" Thank you. Chen Xian did not pay attention to the transformation of his appearance. For him, respect was no longer important. Time had passed and he had already underestimated everything. "Daorong, I still remember that Dao Wutian has a lot of research on formations. Have you learned any true teachings?" Upon hearing these words, Daorong understood and believed that our ancestors must have wanted to change the spiritual energy of this ancient city. As soon as she stepped into this upper realm, she noticed something. "My grandfather once taught me that although I am not academically proficient, it is not difficult to gather the spiritual energy of the ancient city here." "Then go ahead." Dao Rong was ordered to quickly fly into mid-air and start consolidating the formation, except for the courtyard gate. Chenan was extremely shocked in his heart, and his gaze towards Dao Rong increased in respect. He never expected that this inconspicuous girl would be from the Taoist family. Chapter 7. Lingshikuang was robbed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Daozhou is divided into 3 major states and 8 major cities. Longcheng is one of the 8 cities, with Taoism as the leader and no heavenly immortal king as the seat, with extraordinary heritage. Dao Wutian has a daughter named Dao Rong, coincidentally corresponding to the title of Chen Xiangang. Although the Chen family is desolate, the Longcheng Taoist family is well known, and Chenan has also heard of it. Grandfather, is this woman with a mysterious ice and glass constitution that is rare in 1,000 years? Chenan couldn't help but ask his doubts, his voice slightly trembling. Chen Xian nodded slightly. Surprisingly, she is truly a Taoist Daorong. This is the innate double cultivation holy body recorded only in ancient books, and for thousands of years, the mysterious ice and glass physique has without exception ascended to the top of the immortal king. Such a woman is extraordinary in her beauty. She has been a contender among various major sects for thousands of years, but now she is the companion of her ancestors. Chen was even more excited in his heart. The Chen family may have regained their glory from thousands of years ago. No, it's better to go beyond it. After Xian gave the order, Dao Rong went to arrange the formation. Dao Rong quickly pinched the mantra and whispered a curse. A brilliant light quickly spread out from her fingertips, surrounding her body, flying out ancient and complex runes. Underneath his body, a huge formation suddenly appeared. As her last spell came to an end, a majestic aura suddenly appeared in the air. The scattered true qi of the entire Liugu city seemed to have guidance as it swiftly headed towards the Chen family. Daorong restrained her mind and came to Xian's side, whispering. Master, I have found a place with abundant spiritual energy, which seems to be a natural spiritual mine underground. Chen seemed to have thought of something and quickly said. Natural spirit mines, no wonder the spirit stones in Liugu city have been pouring out continuously for the past century. I once sent people to search for them but couldn't find any results. It turned out to be underground. Liugu city is just a remote small town in the extreme east. When the Chen family migrated, it was precisely because Chen discovered that this place was rich in spiritual minerals and sparsely populated that they settled here. Xian touched Daorong's head and said, "It's done very well." Turning to look at Chen. Send the children of the Chen family to dig and mine. The spiritual mine is formed by the convergence of heaven and earth's spiritual energy. In addition to abundant spiritual energy, it often accompanies some spiritual grass, which is of great help to the Chen family. The strength of the disciples in the clan is too low. Now that the formation is in place and the spirit mine is assisting, it is likely that within 10 years, there will be disciples who can fulfill their great responsibilities. Chen ordered the disciples of the clan to properly arrange for their ancestors and urgently lead the clan members to the spiritual mine. Ling has been a resource occupied by major factions since ancient times. Even if very few families occasionally discover spirit mines, they are quickly divided and occupied by other sections. Now that our ancestors are in charge, the spirit mines will definitely be able to take over the business of spirit stones in our clan and take it to the next level. In recent days, Xuanzhen has been constantly gathering manpower to excavate underground for a radius of 35 miles. Xian also took this opportunity to learn about the Chen family. Nowadays, the Chen family only has a legitimate lineage and no collateral lineage. They were besieged by the 4 major families in the past, and all major branches died or were destroyed. Some even took advantage of the chaos to take away the Chen family's martial arts classics and medicines. Those who are young and talented in their clan are more likely to see this situation. They separated the Chen family and re-entered other families to adopt their surnames. I didn't expect that after 10,000 years, the Chen family would weaken to such an extent that the 4 major families would avenge me, Xian. However, before that, the Chen family needs to rise up and restore their former glory. He perused Chen's records in the room and murmured to himself. The Chen family is his family, and it is impossible for them to decline like this. As for the 4 major families, they dared to join forces to destroy the Chen family 10,000 years ago, and 10,000 years later, they dared to let the 4 major families destroy their families. During Xian's browsing, Dao Rong waited quietly on the side, lost in thought. The flickering candlelight shone on Xian's face, with sharp diamond-shaped features and deep starry eyes, outlining a cold and elegant face. In a daze, I forgot that my ancestors had lived for thousands of years. More like a senior brother in the clan, with a tall and imposing posture, exuding a calm and atmospheric demeanor in every move. Like a white lotus standing at the top of a cliff, cold and not to be seen up close, not to have a blasphemous heart. Xian closed his book, sighed lightly, and looked at Dao Rong in confusion, saying, "Tuer, why are your cheeks flushed? What happened? Let me see." Just as she was about to reach out, Dao Rong quickly dodged and said anxiously, "It's okay, master. Maybe it's just a few days of practice." It's not right. The weather is a bit hot, it's a bit hot, it will get better soon. But suddenly in my mind, I remembered a sentence my grandfather said. We have to get married sooner or later, Chen Xian is not a better choice. No, Ronger, what are you thinking? Master has lived for thousands of years and must have seen many stunning beauties. How could he take a liking to you? But I am also born with the holy communion of double cultivation, and sooner or later I will get married. Oh my! Chen Xian's face showed confusion. What's wrong with this girl? Suddenly, a voice rushed from far to near, and Chen's disciple rushed in, panting heavily. It's not good, Ancestor. Our spirit mine. The spirit mine has been robbed. How audacious. How dare you touch Chen's spiritual mine? Let me go take a look. Darong clenched her sword and was about to follow her disciple, but was stopped by Chen Xian. Don't worry, talk about it carefully. Looking at the newcomer in front of me, there were some scratches on his body, but he didn't die. Obviously, the newcomer was only for the spiritual mine, not for taking his life. After the disciples in the clan calmed down for a while, they finally knelt down and told the story. It turns out that the news of the Ling mine in recent days has also been learned by several nearby families, who have repeatedly come to seize all of it. Fortunately, although the Chen family has declined, they still have some strength to resist. But for some unknown reason today, several major families came together as if they had agreed, injured the Chen family, and even kicked them out. They still said, "Get out of here. Get out of the ancient city." As they spoke, the heads of the younger generation hung down, their faces showing shame and sadness. They had heard this sentence countless times. But the Ancestor is still in the ancient city, so I just heard about it. The Ancestor finally found the Chen family and suffered such humiliation. Chen Xian's eyes narrowed slightly, and his fingers rhythmically tapped on the wooden table. Ronger, let's take a look together with my teacher. He has seen countless robberies in these 10,000 years, but for the first time, he heard someone ordering his Chen family to leave. Although the Chen family has fallen into desolation, he has made up his mind to let them rise. It never existed 10,000 years ago, impossible to exist, and even less so now. At the Lingshikuang mountain range, Chen's disciples were all seriously injured and surrounded by other families to the brink of death. They could only rely on their companions to support their bodies and step-by-step retreat. Chenin had blood hanging from the corner of his mouth, and his spiritual energy was rampant, with an excessive emptying of it. It has long been like a withered flower about to wither, but in order to protect our tribe, we hold a sword and resist these ambitious people to the death. Get out of here, if my ancestors come, none of you can escape. He took advantage of one of them being unprepared and threw his sword out to launch a surprise attack, but was easily dodged by the Lin family as the leader. The leader appeared to be only 18 or 19 years old, an outsider of the Lin family. He was thin and weak, with sunken cheeks, as if his body had been excessively hollowed out over the years. Just you. Chenin, don't say I look down on you. Do you still want to ambush me with your cultivation? I advise you to surrender and get out of here as soon as possible. Killing you would be a waste of my strength, not to mention your ancestor. It's really a joke. Where is my ancestor? Let me see, come out and let me see. Can your ancestor save you? Don't talk about you, I'll let your ancestor go. Let me go. A sound came, followed by only a faint sound. The leader Lin's disciple's arm fell down with a thud, and the section was intact and smooth. He stared at his arm, which had fallen to the ground and was still slightly responsive, with wide eyes. Is that my hand? Chapter 8. Ling mine belongs to the Chen family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin's disciple's brain instantly went blank, staring blankly at his empty right arm, and a piercing pain swept through his heart. Ah! His face turned pale, and he tightly grasped his right shoulder, rolling on the ground in pain. Chen saw the situation and looked up. It's our ancestor is here, we have help. The disciples of the Chen family seemed to see the dawn, their eyes tinged with hope, and their hearts also had some confidence. Our ancestors have arrived, you are doomed. Ancestor. For a while. The four major families were all occupied by Xuanzhen, and the few who were originally eager to try dared not act rashly anymore. In these 100 years, facing such situations countless times, it is the first time someone has stood up for them, and there are some tears rolling in their eyes. The other three major families, namely Qin, Chao, Shi, and Lin, are all nearby families in charge of the Lingshikuang business. I still have concerns in my heart and have tried Chen's method several times. But when the children of the Chen family discovered that they were just a declining family, they dared to join forces with other families to suppress them. Unexpectedly, there were experts in charge. The Qin family sent elders to come this time, and they were the same as the disciples of the Lin family in terms of observing the sea. Although their cultivation was not as good, they were outstanding in the city, and at first glance they could see the difference between Xianxia. Who is this kid? Looking at my age in my early 20s, my cultivation seems to be above observing the sea, right? Xianxia's aura was introverted, seemingly no different from ordinary people, not like a divine means. Elder Qin's eyes rolled and he thought for a moment before shouting loudly. Chao, Shi, Chen, is it difficult for your tribes to be afraid? This young man is only in his 20s, how can he be the ancestor of the Chen family? Upon hearing these words, everyone suddenly realized. Yeah, how could he be an ancestor? Kill him. Chen is extremely cunning, and he can't leave any survivors. Yes, the Chen family is just a wandering clan, killing them is not a bad thing. This spirit mine is not a big deal. How about working together to divide the four tribes? Dao Rong saw that everyone was criticizing the master and wanted to drive out all the members of the master's clan. Her pretty face was full of anger. Carving hearts and wild geese claws, not only bullying the Chen family, but also occupying their spiritual minds and driving them all away. Chen Xian stood silently watching the crowd, his eyes filled with coldness. Suddenly, he slowly raised his hand and reached out his sword to swipe through the void. Produced dozens of spiritual energy, flickering like a wandering dragon, flexible like a whip, sharp like a sword, and shot away fiercely. A breathing room. Shoo shoo. Just listening to the constant sound, at the same time, all the leaders present had a blood hole pierced by a sword hole, continuously dripping out. Everyone stared at this scene in disbelief. The cultivator, who had been pierced through, stared blankly at the bleeding sword hole in his chest, but before he could react, he collapsed to the ground. Died by piercing through the heart's veins. The others were shocked and didn't dare to be careless anymore, even the highest cultivation elder of the Shi family present was trembling with fear. Such means of reaching out to the sky, taking a person's life between breaths is like exploring a bag to retrieve something. He has supernatural powers. No, it must be the realm of refining gods, not something that you can compete with. You should know that all the clan chiefs are just 5 levels of divine powers. This person's strength is far superior to the clan leader. More importantly, this person is still young and has a companion by his side, so he must be some unborn family member. What's going on? They're all dead. How could it be? What happened? He is a refined god. Covering his hands to take people's lives, wielding swords and qi. The crowd was so frightened that they retreated one after another, trembling all over. Looking at Xianxia again, their eyes were only filled with fear. I don't care, I don't want it anymore, I have to leave. The timid and cowardly ones immediately ran away, while the others scattered and fled. Who dares to stay in the dead? Surprisingly, the Chen family really has such a young and powerful person sitting here, far exceeding the clan leader's strength. Even the 4 major families on site are not enough to cut vegetables for him. There is only one dead end. From now on, the spirit mine belongs to the Chen family. If the rat generation dares to bully my descendants of the Chen family again, they will fall here. The sound was mixed with true qi, like the sound of a mighty bell, spreading throughout the ears of the remaining cultivators with a trembling fear, and no one dared to offend. Seeing that everyone was about to run away, Dao couldn't help but worry. Master, if you cut down the grass without removing the roots, you will face endless troubles. Chen Xian shook his head slowly and, seeing that the effect had been achieved, he had no intention of chasing after him. He said calmly. It's inexhaustible, without him, there would be others. Dao was stunned for a moment, understood the master's intention, and felt ashamed. My own vision is still too shallow. I think even if we annex the 4 major families, there will still be other more powerful people appearing. Nowadays, the disciples of the Chen family have poor cultivation, and their master can protect them for a while, but not for a lifetime. Keeping these people here is also a test for the Chen family. What the master teaches is. Chen Xian turned around and waved his hand away, a refreshing breeze sweeping over the Chen family's children. Everyone felt enveloped by a powerful spiritual energy, and the wounds on their bodies healed at a visible speed to the naked eye. Although they had not fully recovered, their movements were without any problems. In addition to joy, do not forget to bow and thank your ancestors. Thank you very much, Ancestor. Chen Xian scanned the disciples and found that those with high strength were only able to observe the sea 9 times, and their foundation was extremely unstable, without the assistance of martial arts. The children of the Chen family have a good foundation and not mediocre qualifications. Under the purple texture scripture, their cultivation has made rapid progress in recent days. However, it is still too far from the previous Chen family. At that time, the Chen family's sea view did not even have the qualification to enter the outer gate. I can't help but feel a little emotional. These days, no one dares to offend me, but if I'm not here in the future, it's inevitable to encounter this situation again. Chen An's face turned red with shame. The ancestor finally returned, but the children of the Chen family repeatedly asked the ancestor to take action. Chen Xian noticed Chen An's thoughts and patted his shoulder, comforting him by saying, "You don't have to be like that. Over the years, you have led the Chen family to where they are today and have done an excellent job. The Chen family has very few martial arts techniques, and there are no pills, which naturally cannot compare to other families. I happen to have a prescription for pills here, which is very suitable for improving cultivation and building roots and bones." As he spoke, he took out a prescription from his divine consciousness, which detailed the materials required for refining pills. This is also why he has been pondering over it for the past few days, requiring the least amount of materials, the cheapest, and excellent refining. If you choose to purchase, the materials needed are the cheapest and most suitable. As for this prescription, let's keep it for future generations of the Chen family to provide. Upon hearing these words, Chen An's eyes shone brightly, and it was hard to conceal his excitement. For the Chen family, having this prescription is like crossing a river and encountering a boat. Chen An trembled and took the quaint and somewhat old-fashioned prescription, afraid of accidentally tearing up a corner. He instinctively swallowed his saliva and nervously opened the prescription to check. You can see the materials needed on the prescription clearly. You were dumbfounded on the spot. Tianshan Shuel Yen, Fu Zi Chao, Long Yen Gua, Xian Ling Lu. Which one above is easy to obtain? Ancestor. Ancestor, is this really cheap? Chapter 9. There is a great power born here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Xian frowned slightly and looked at him in confusion. Chen An saw his ancestor puzzled and explained with a bitter smile. Ancestor, there are still some ways to obtain Fuzi grass, Longyan fruit, Xianling dew, but this Tianshan snow lotus has long been extinct thousands of years ago, and there is no way to find it. Although there are formulas for elixirs in the clan, there are many recorded classics, among which is a book on elixirs. He once saw the name of Tianshan Shuel Yen on these, which disappeared from the market 10,000 years ago, and even the seeds did not fall. As for other herbs such as fuzi grass, longyan fruit, and xianling dew, it takes at least 300,000 spirit stones to purchase these 3 herbs. Cheap. In the eyes of our ancestors, what exactly does 300,000 spirit stones mean? 5 million is enough for their Chen family to spend 10 years on food and clothing, as well as for their children's elixirs, spirit stones, and even some money. But now, 300,000 spirit stones are about to be dug out, feeling empty in my heart. Chen An's lips trembled with an indescribable pain. For the past 100 years, I have been tight and have been tightening my belt. Even if I don't want to give up, I will go all out for the sake of the Chen family. Unexpectedly, the Tianshan snow lotus has disappeared. 10,000 years ago, this item was as abundant as a cow's hair, and even major sects did not consider it as a herb. Chen Xian was even more puzzled and looked at Dao Rong to confirm. Dao Rong nodded with a slightly unpleasant expression on her face. As much as a cow's hair. Tianshan snow lotus is an excellent spiritual herb, which can nourish the meridians and roots of a person, improve their blood, and enhance their cultivation. Simply put, if you want to conceive and improve your cultivation, you can become an existence that no one in the sect is competing for. It takes at least 1.5 years for a sea-watching disciple to upgrade, and even those with exceptional talents need to work hard and diligently, which can be achieved within a few months. If given to several thousand disciples, it would save 100 or 10,000 years. This item is extremely precious. 10,000 years ago, there was a sect that harvested extensively, leading to extinction and leaving nowhere to be found. Chen Xian shook his head helplessly and said, "Anyway, 10,000 years ago when I was in seclusion, I brought a few plants with me. I think there's still some left, so I'll go find them." Has this object also reached the level of extinction? Fortunately, thousands of years ago he had the habit of planting spiritual grass, and when traveling to Daozhou, he would collect some spiritual grass. Daorong saw that Chen Xian wanted to leave and immediately followed him. "Master, Ronger will accompany you." "No need, you stay here and I'll go back as soon as I go, so as not to cause any trouble." After Chen Xian finished speaking, he lightly tapped the ground and walked towards the closed mountain cave. Daorong watched as Chen Xian's figure gradually faded away, her face reluctant to part, but she was also helpless. When she left the Taoist school, her grandfather specifically instructed her to serve Chen Xian well, undress and untie, and bring tea and water. At first, she was still a bit dissatisfied. She was a grandiose Taoist lady, but after spending a few days together, she did it very well. She was even more worried that Chen Xian had never been born for 10,000 years, did not understand the dangers of this state, and was deceived. Chen An saw the woman's family's emotions and thought that Dao Rong was worried about Chen Xian being surrounded. "Miss Ronger, do you have any concerns? Our ancestors' methods are so skillful that nothing will go wrong." Daorong shook her head and said, "I'm just afraid that my master will be deceived. After all, he hasn't been born for 10,000 years. The Chen family's son, who had originally wanted to keep up behind him, stood still with a stiff expression. "You look at me, I look at you. She means, afraid that our ancestors will be deceived. Who dares to deceive our ancestors?" The scene just now is still vivid, with only the sword intent taking dozens of lives. If someone really deceives him, he won't be able to escape 3 steps and die in the underworld on the other side. Chen Xian returned to Panlong Mountain and headed towards the closed cave. In an instant, he stopped at the upper domain 5 miles away and looked down with a puzzled expression. Why are there so many people? From a distance, a group of people crowded at the entrance of the cave, arguing incessantly. Zhong Lingxiu, Xianxiao Dantai, this place must have had great powers recently, or there must have been exotic treasures in the world. Look at this place where the spiritual energy hovers for a long time, it's an immortal land. I advise you to disperse, this is the territory of my ethereal sect. Even if it is a treasure land, what does it have to do with you? Don't speak so harshly. As the saying goes, those who see have a share. If we don't leave, how can you get us? Everyone put on a show, anyway, we can only fight to a draw, and we can't drive them away. We are determined to wait here for the great power to emerge. This was also discovered by a chance trip of the ethereal sect, where the spiritual energy hovered for a long time. Above. Immortal energy rises, clouds and clouds rise, and cranes and birds hover above. Afterwards lies an endless and vast mountain range, accompanied by clouds and mist, with spiritual energy dormant. A faint trace of surging spiritual power can be detected inside, indicating that there is a powerful seclusion inside that has not yet emerged. Just leaked out without knowing the news, attracting this group of scoundrels. The elder of the Phantom sect was so angry that he blew his beard and stared. If his gaze could kill someone, he would have been cut 1,000 times already. You guys are really shameless. As both cultivators, you have no face or skin. It's like laughing your teeth out and becoming a joke in dojo. Once you have achieved success, with the opportunity given by the great power, perhaps you can also ascend to the legendary realm of the Immortal King. How about being a joke? You guys should leave, there's no big deal here. Chen Xuan saw that everyone was still arguing and stopped speaking. Before taking a step closer, everyone suddenly heard unfamiliar voices and drew out their swords, pointing their swords at Chen Xuan. Who are you again? I advise you to go back quickly. This place has already been booked, and scattered cultivators are not allowed to enter. Chen Xuan shook his head when he saw such a battle. This is just his secluded cave, where he sleeps, and is actually considered a treasure trove by people. Nowadays, I went back to my own home, but someone still drew a sword to obstruct me. Glancing around, my cultivation level is not high, so I think it should be a few small families at the foot of the mountain. Lazy to talk nonsense. He flicked his index finger lightly, shooting out a few spiritual energies, only listening to the crisp sound. The first few people have broken swords in their hands. Chen Xuan waved his sleeve and rushed in directly. Everyone was just about to take action. Suddenly, he felt a powerful and imposing pressure rushing towards him, as if he was weighing 1,000 pounds and unable to move a single step. All are sudden contractions of the pupils. I can't believe it. How could it be? Because of excessive force, even the hand holding the sword turned white and could not move. I could only watch Chen Xuan pass through the crowd and walk to the cave. What kind of casual cultivator is it that has taken a liking to this place? Chen Xuan waved his sleeve again and opened the previously closed cave again. As the door opened, the pressure on everyone disappeared and they turned their heads to look at Chen Xuan almost at the same time. This person is extremely dangerous and emits a terrifying aura that cannot be underestimated. Chen Xuan's right hand fell behind his back, without looking back, and he said calmly. I just came to my own seclusion. A place of seclusion. There was a hint of fear in everyone's eyes, unable to believe their own ears. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them and this sentence, leaving their minds blank and standing still. The senior leaders exchanged a glance at each other and then looked at Chen Xuan's methods, immediately understanding everything. I've been impolite, Junior. I'll leave now. I dare not disturb the senior's leisure. Let's go. Let's go. Everyone lowered their heads and retreated back in succession. After retreating to a distance, they all fled like fleeing for their lives and disappeared without a trace. I'm afraid it's one step too late, so Xiaoming will explain it here. Chapter 10. Thousands of thousand-year-old Tianshan snow lotus plants. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The cave is still similar to before I left, with thatched beds and a long extinguished fire on the ground. Empty yet simple. Although he had already cleared the valley and did not need to eat anything ordinary, he always had a habit of eating something and tasting that unique flavor. Chen Xian walked further forward. He vaguely remembers 10,000 years ago when he placed some spiritual herbs and unseen things deep inside. Just as I walked deep, I found that the spiritual grass I had planted 10,000 years ago in the cave was still there. The cave is his chosen place, nurtured by spiritual energy, without the need for irrigation. For thousands of years, spiritual energy has nurtured and grown exceptionally well. He picked up the damaged storage bag in the corner, looked at the damaged area, and smiled. Surprisingly, it's still there. 10,000 years ago, he casually picked up a broken piece and filled it with spiritual herbs such as Tianshan Shuelian. Unexpectedly, due to the damage, the herbs scattered and took root on the ground. Upon careful observation, Chen Xian found that the older ones had been around for 10,000 years, at least reaching over 700 years. Due to being left unattended for thousands of years, it has transformed from a small place to a half-acre spiritual grassland. The spiritual energy is more abundant, permeating every strand of air and nourishing all things in the cave. The intertwined breath carries a faint medicinal fragrance, making one feel relaxed and happy. Under the nourishment of spiritual energy, various spiritual grasses make their branches and leaves more emerald green, and their flowers more delicate and dazzling, emitting a dazzling radiance. Chen Xian waved his hand and used his spiritual energy to separate the Tianshan snow lotus from the soil, preserving the roots and seedlings. The Tianshan snow lotus is even more beautiful than it was seen 10,000 years ago. The petals are like transparent pearls, pure and flawless, with a stronger medicinal aroma. The roots and seedlings should have been around for thousands of years, making them extremely suitable for cultivation. The remaining millennia will also be taken with them to refine pills. Before leaving, Chen Xian casually placed a prohibition to protect the medicinal fields here, and then left. Although it was arranged by him casually, it was not allowed for the Immortal King to enter. Liugu City, Chen family. Chen Xian only left in an hour. When I first returned, I saw Darong pacing back and forth in the main hall. Chenin sat in the side seat, drinking one cup after another, looking unbearable. Master, you have finally returned. Ancestor. Chen Xian rubbed Darong's head and saw Chen En's face full of sadness. He asked. What's wrong? Chen En glanced at Dao Rong with a casual expression, as if she had experienced immense pain for an hour, and instinctively took a few steps away. After our ancestors left, the Taoist people came and carried a lot of things with ease. Speaking of this, he seems to have endless bitterness. Dao Rong considered that his master would still be staying at the Chen family for a few more days, and even if he didn't stay for a long time, he would have to tidy up a dormitory in the future. She ordered the Taoist people to use teleportation symbols and quickly rushed to Liugu City, bringing in many expensive wooden tables, chairs, and even changing beds. That's all for now. Chenin can still understand, but Dao Rong brought a lot of clothing and even showed it to Chenin, asking him how he looked at it from a man's perspective. At this moment, Chenin felt completely insane. He is still a big man and doesn't have the energy of a little girl. After struggling, he only feels suffocated. Darong felt a bit aggrieved. Seeing Chen Xian looking at her, she weakly explained. I'm worried about my master, so I'll have someone set it up now. Considering that the master has not been born for thousands of years, it is obvious that he also needs some nice clothes to showcase his identity. She can't be so simple and elegant. Although the master is low-key and introverted, there are always people outside of the ignorant rat generation who look down on her, which also makes her very dissatisfied. This is the last resort. Chen Xian couldn't help but cry and laugh. He lightly patted Darong's head and reprimanded him. It's not allowed next time. Respectfully abide by your master's teachings. Chen Xian took out the millennium-old plants he brought and handed them to Chen Andao. Plant it, as long as it is not damaged, there will be no problem in the future. This plant is thousands of years old, so be careful not to damage the roots or seedlings, Otherwise it will affect the cultivation and spiritual grass effect. Chen En's eyes lit up as he gazed at the translucent white snow lotus of the Tianshan mountains. Thank you very much, Ancestor. He had just taken it, and upon hearing it, Wan Nian almost trembled with fear and threw the spirit grass to the ground. Fortunately, Dao Rome was quick-witted and grabbed his hand. Be careful. Chen En nodded repeatedly, so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat, almost destroying the 10,000-year-old Tianshan snow lotus in his hands. I dare not hold it too big at all, holding it with both hands carefully for fear of damaging it. Old. Ancestor, 10,000 years, these 10,000 years may not be too precious. Chen Xian was stunned for a moment and asked in reverse. Is it precious? After another pause, don't worry, there are still thousands of plants on my end. Thinking that Chen En was embarrassed, he spoke out to comfort him. Unexpectedly, this sentence stunned Dao Rong. Master, how many? Thousands of perennial Tianshan snow lotus plants. Yes, perhaps due to spiritual issues, Tianshan snow lotus is extremely easy to reproduce and grow, and there are more. Don't worry, taking it also saved me a lot of trouble, so as not to occupy the space of other herbs. Chen En felt his brain tighten and his breathing was a bit rapid. He trembled and asked. Is there much else? When asked this question, he felt like he was crazy. I have only seen a few thousand plants of spiritual grass in the so called domain. In the words of our ancestors, it seems that there are more than a few thousand plants, and there are others. Are you crazy? Chen Xian said lightly. Well, over the course of thousands of years, I have collected a little more, and I happen to have good spiritual energy and good birth. He didn't notice anything wrong or inappropriate. In his perception, the Tianshan snow lotus is indeed nothing, and other spiritual herbs are much more precious than it. Chen En instinctively swallowed his saliva and felt his blood boil. Crazy, it's too crazy. According to our ancestors, aren't spiritual herbs and elixirs so tiny that they are inexhaustible and cannot be used up? One person can reach the pinnacle of a sect's 10,000-year heritage. He carefully held the eternal Tianshan snow lotus and left, murmuring. Crazy, it's too crazy. There is a feeling of being poor for a lifetime, when suddenly the god of wealth comes to his own door and says, You are my descendant, I will ensure that you have no worries about food and clothing for your entire life, as if in a dream. Darong had witnessed many grand scenes during her time in the Taoist school, and even so, she was so shocked that she couldn't recover from it for a long time. Master, but you need to refine. Dan. The Taoist school has a top-notch Dan furnace that is extremely suitable. I will order someone to retrieve it now. As she was about to leave, Chen Xian spoke out and stopped her. There's no need to make a big fuss. As a teacher, although it's not very good, it's enough. Give me some space. The alchemy furnace he brought followed him tens of thousands of years ago. Although it may not be considered excellent, it is also considered suitable for use. Darong dared not say much and ordered the Chen family's children to find a wing room, which was not allowed for outsiders to approach, and she would personally guard it. Alchemy consumes a great deal of energy and is the most taboo to be disturbed. She once met an uncle in Taoism who became insane due to a sentence from someone else during alchemy. Master, how is it here? Chen Xian looked around and nodded in satisfaction. It was located in the west wing, which was relatively remote but still quiet. A mental movement. He took out a cauldron from his divine consciousness, which was pitch black and inlaid with 3 red beads.